The SATS program is not designed to take over for commercial aircraft. The idea is that SATS will be integrated into the current overtaxed system. Researchers believe that SATS and larger commercial aircraft can work together.
Clearly, we don't want to get in the way of the large airplanes. It doesn't make sense for a 2-passenger or 4-passenger airplane to get in a queue, get in a line with 300-passenger airplanes at big airports. But what is nice about SATS is SATS operates literally below the radar in underutilized airspace. So you connect small communities together and you fly below the airlines. You're not going into the big airports where the big airlines are already congested and having challenges anyway. You're independent. And if our technologies work in that lower airspace, gradually the technologies will migrate. Instead of from the big airplanes to the small, will migrate from the small airplanes to the big airplanes, and the two systems will come together in an integrated way. So in 20 years, perhaps everybody will be flying SATs. There will just be big SATs and little SATs. So gradually we will see these opportunities emerge. Gradually communities will be connected. Gradually you and I will find ourselves flying more often than we are driving our car.
The idea for SATs is not very different than the idea of the interstate highway system of the 1950s. At that time, President Eisenhower made it a national priority to have an interstate system that would crisscross the United States, improving travel. Eisenhower first thought of this idea in 1919 when he participated in the U.S. Army's first transcontinental motor convoy from Washington, D.C. to San Francisco. On the way west, the convoy experienced a series of mechanical difficulties because the roads were so bad that many of the vehicles got stuck in the mud on these unpaved roads. The trip that today would only take about 5 days took Eisenhower's convoy a total of 62 days to complete. The idea for the interstate system in the U.S. came up again in the winter and early spring of 1945 when General Eisenhower saw the advantages Germany enjoyed because of their Autobahn network. After he was elected president in 1953, he made the decision to have a similar system here in the U.S. It took some time, but in 1957, the interstate system officially began being constructed and is now an integral part of all of our lives. Many at NASA hope that in 50 years from now, people will look at the SAT system in a similar way.
Much the same as the interstate highway system allowed the diffusion of economic opportunity to a vastly greater geographical area. This innovation, using smaller aircraft and smaller airports for public transportation, can diffuse economic opportunity and therefore quality of life and standard of living to places that are not connected in the hub and spoke system, and other than by long drives on the highway. So I think that what it means is the ability to choose where you want to work, where you want to play, where you want to learn in new ways that are less dependent on the old 20th century infrastructure. From the standpoint of the industry, there's been a lot of great surprises. Could not have imagined the emergence of the very light jet segment of the industry. Very exciting. Also, could not have quite imagined the emergence of the use of the smaller piston aircraft for air cabs, if you will. I, in fact, arrived here in the message, so to speak, by coming into Danville from the airport near my house in Williamsburg, Virginia, in a trip that by ground would have taken 5 hours, by air took 50 minutes. So I am thrilled that we've come this far. I'm still very aware that there are many challenges, many big risks ahead. There are financial risks, there are technology risks that need to be dealt with in order for this to grow. I think the industry can start based on what we've done.
There's no doubt this is going to happen, but it'll happen in a transitional way, incrementally, a little bit at a time. You can't turn a switch and have SATs. So some of the technologies we're showing here will come to market next year, and they're in the certification path now. The industry guys will take them. Some of the challenging things that NASA has done particularly, and some of the things the FAA is working on, will take longer. We have the safest system in the world. The airlines are very heavily regulated. There are very strict rules for their operations. GA has a little more freedom, and they go into airports that are smaller and less well equipped in today's world. We would like to change that so that the technologies that we are demonstrating here today in SATs make it safer, make the GA airplanes able to fly with more precision, make it easier and more intuitive for the pilots to be able to fly. More like driving a car, more people will be able to fly. So the FAA's regulations have to adapt to that, and it's a major undertaking to identify where the changes need to be, what those changes are, and at the same time never do anything that would harm the level of safety.
What people need to understand is that this transportation system can be affordable, it can be reliable, it can be extremely safe, and it can be user-friendly. That is, you can travel where you want, when you want, from point to point, and do it in a fashion that is at your schedule. We're not advocating if you try to go coast to coast in a small airplane. But if you want to go from Manassas, Virginia to Danville and come down here and see this expo, it's the best way to get here.